Well, happy Global Social Enterprise Day. So this is pretty cool to be here for today and to actually have a focus on the global goals. So because it is Global Social Enterprise Day, I had to actually do this presentation with a focus on social enterprise and a bit of a journey. I'm not in the camera view, and a bit of a journey of where social enterprise fits in with the global goals. And so what I'm looking at is, when you think about social enterprise, you often think about social enterprises focusing on their mission. But there's some exciting work happening in Australia right now where we're actually not only focusing on our missions, but we're also focusing as a sector on a mission-led approach, which incorporates the global goals. So that's really what I want to cover today. And I am wearing my Wicked Lab hat because I do wear an academic hat as well, and I'm thrilled that my co-founder is in the front row there. That was all the noise you heard in the beginning. That was the big chair, was Emily. So if there's anything that you want to talk about with us during the break, please grab Emily as well. So starting off, what is this idea of a social mission with regards to social enterprise? It's really what we do. Social enterprises are first and foremost wanting to achieve their social mission. And the trading part is really what we do so that we can actually go after our social mission. So it's very much the centrality of a social mission. This is the latest Victorian social enterprise strategy, a little bit from that. We haven't got one in South Australia, but there's lots of people that have been pushing for it. We haven't quite got there yet. But within the Victorian social enterprise strategy, they highlight the 5 most common missions that social enterprises in Victoria aim to achieve. And the first one up the top there is creating opportunities for people to participate in their community. 40% of social enterprises, that's a focus for them for a social mission. If you move away from your mission as a social enterprise, if you get into the literature, it's always thought of as not a good thing. You've got your social mission, you stick to your knitting and you go after your social mission. And they talk about mission drift, if you get dragged away from what you're actually trying to achieve. And it's usually going after dollars that makes you go away from your mission. But I guess in this presentation, I'm questioning whether it's a bad thing to move away a bit from your mission. Whoop. This is where we are as a sector. Last year we started the discussion nationally for social enterprise, looking at developing a national strategy for the social enterprise sector. And what was really quite exciting, you'll see on the right-hand, this is the theory of change out of the second report that came through. You'll see right up at the right-hand side, they're looking at how do we as a sector contribute to the achievement of the global goals. And there I've got kind of highlighted in green because this is a theory of change. It's saying how are we going to do that? And it's saying we're going to do this by taking a mission-led approach. So social enterprises, as individual entities, have their social mission. As a sector, we're looking at taking a mission-led approach, which is a bit different. This is also from the same report, and it talks about this mission-led approach, gives some examples of missions that as a sector we could go after, including things like regenerative economy, caring economy, and it highlights that, I guess, the thought leader in this space of taking a mission-led approach is Mariana Mazzucato. Now, like Sandra and I, she is a bit of an academic, but she's also a policy person and she also writes for the mainstream. So her most popular book on this topic is the Mission Economy, which is about taking a mission-led approach. But in Australia, her work is influencing commercialisation funding and it's influencing a lot of policy documents with regards to taking this mission-led approach. So if we look at a mission-led approach compared to a social enterprise going after a mission, up the top in the the left-hand corner up there, I've got the first mission from the Social Enterprise Strategy for Victoria, talking about creating an opportunity for people to participate in their community. And in that little red box there, if you could see it, that one aligns. That's an underpinning causal factor for a much bigger problem, which is about the well-being of children. And a social enterprise could go after that and develop an initiative. But when you're taking a mission-driven or a mission-led approach, you're going after the whole of the problem. You're going after something like the well-being of children. And so you'd have loads of social enterprises and loads of other organisations addressing different underpinning causal factors for that problem. And this is from Mariana Mazzucato, and it kind of like highlights how this plays out in practice. So she says in her writing that the global challenges can be expressed as the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So these are global challenges like poverty in a community or climate change or food insecurity. We often see those expressed as Sustainable Development Goals. And what you've got is you've got different initiatives, social enterprises, so I've got these mission projects. Together they're collaborating and going after these targeted missions, and then these missions come together to go after these grand challenges. And that's what the kind of approach the social enterprise sector in Australia is looking at. Now, when you think about this going after the SDGs, if we go back to the preamble of the 2030 Agenda when the SDGs were first introduced, they weren't introduced as individual SDGs that you tick off, you're going after these targets. It was about them being indivisible and integrated. So it wasn't a case of you're just going after a target or just going after a goal. You were actually addressing problems that could have a variety of targets from different places. And in the preamble, it talks about the 5 Ps and about the integration of these different parts of society and how they come together. Whoop. One of my favourites is, and this is from the UN, is this map by LeBlanc, which shows the integration of the SDG targets. But what he focuses on is the thematic targets. So the targets and the goals can be split up as either implementation targets or goals or thematic targets and goals. So it's the thematic targets and goals which are the ones which are the problem focus, addressing a problem. And of the 17 SDGs, 16 of them are thematic, and of the 169 targets, 107 are problem focused. When Mariana Mazzucato talks about this work, she also says that these grand challenges, which remember can be represented as the SDGs, she says they're also wicked. So they're also wicked problems. And that's where Wicked Lab, that's our focus, has been on wicked problems. And so just before I move on, just recapping, individual social enterprises go after underpinning causal factors, and they have a mission to go after those, and they develop initiatives. Taking a mission-driven approach is looking at the big, complex, wicked problem and coming together as a sector and partnering with other organisations as well that aren't social enterprises to go after these bigger problems. Now, what we do at Wicked Lab is we focused on the wicked problems. So we commercialised some research from my PhD on how to actually support communities to do transitions, to transition from one state to another state for a community. And so we developed software, and it's got a couple of features. One is a transition card, which shows how all of the initiatives in a community that are addressing the different underpinning causal factors are actually contributing towards transitions. And we also developed another software feature which focuses on what does the network of individual initiatives look like together, so that you can actually analyse the structure of the network in a community. But then we had a bit of a thought day with regards to what we could do with the structure from our software. And what we've actually created is we've taken that software and we've applied the same framing but to the SDGs. So a community can actually look at their initiatives that are going after one of the big problems and actually be able to tick off what targets they're going after, and also using LeBlanc's network map with regards to the thematic targets and goals to look at how they're coming together to address a problem. Now, we're quite excited because today is Global Social Enterprise Day. Yes, and today we actually got notified that the Paul Ramsay Foundation is funding us to roll this out nationally with work integration of social enterprises across Australia. So we're quite chuffed because as a problem that a lot of social enterprises focus on, which is unemployment, we're going to be able to come together as a community to actually look at addressing that. So by using LeBlanc's map and looking at where you might be going after as a community, some targets, but by using LeBlanc's framework, the software actually shows other targets you could be stretching to. So that's a bit different than traditionally social enterprises sticking to their mission. This is going to highlight to social enterprises whether they could have other targets that are inseparable from what they're already going after. If there's other targets that they could support through their work, and other targets which they're creating the conditions to achieve those targets. Because what we're actually doing when we're thinking of a mission-driven approach is we're thinking about coming after these bigger problems as a collective. A couple of case studies just to show some of the folks that are using the software now. Huge fan, and people here from the social enterprise sector would know these folks. Moving Feast has been using our software for quite a while for their system transitions. And so Moving Feast is this amazing collection of social enterprises and other stakeholders, 25 funders supporting this, that are looking at a fair and just food system in Victoria. And so they've been using our software, and yeah, over 100 organisations and 25 funders, but driven by the social enterprise sector in Victoria. Food is just an amazing focus for bringing together the SDGs. This is the Stockholm Resilience Centre wedding cake model, which shows how a focus on food actually impacts on all of the SDGs. This is Moving Feast's SDG alignment card, and this is their thematic SDG network map. Another organisation we've been working with is Oz Minerals, who mine copper, and copper is required for green industries, but there is a whole lot of environmental issues with regards to mining. And so they've got a innovation incubator, TAD, that they're looking at addressing some of those challenges with regards to mining. And so that is their SDG alignment card, and that is their thematic SDGs network map. So we're very excited to be here today and to be able to share with you what we're working on and what's happening with the sector moving forward. Thank you.